Greetings from Ayas. We are joining you today to discuss a very, very important topic. And this is how to understand the Muslims and how to understand their worldview. Today, I have invited a few of my friends from around the world, but who have come here to study at Ayas or serve here at Ayas. And they have lived in Muslim dominated places. And they will be speaking from their own personal experiences. Many of us have never lived in Muslim countries, and this is an opportunity for us to learn from all of them. I want to welcome you this afternoon. But before we start, I want to give a disclaimer that views that are expressed here, they are not the reflection of Ayas. They are opinions of our participants that you see here in front. So before we start, let's get to know them. Please tell us who you are, how long you've been here at Ayas, and what you are doing here. Looks like we're going to start with you, sir.
My name is Akif, and I come from Pakistan, and I'm taking MDiv here at IS.
How long have you been here?
Oh, I've been here for 1.5 years.
Very good. Welcome to our program, Akif. Let's go to the next person.
Hi everyone, my name is John Sinaga. I'm from Indonesia and I'm here as a student from a PhD in Intercultural Studies.
Okay. What question I have for you is, are you from Indonesia or from the Philippines?
From Indonesia.
How many years did you ever live in Indonesia?
Wait, I've been here for 10 years.
There you go. That's the reason I was asking. Are you a Filipino or Indonesian? All right. Let's go to the next one.
Hello, Episabat. I'm Frankinson Stomigolong from Indonesia. I've been here for 2 years, and I'm doing MAR in the seminar.
Very good. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our program. Let's go to the next person.
Good afternoon, friends. My name is Edward Taliwongso. I'm from Indonesia, and I'm taking MAR in New Testament. I've been here for 1.5 years.
Okay, wait a minute. We have three Indonesians here taking more or less the same. You're all in the seminary.
Yes.
Okay, we will have to get back to this specific aspect. That is kind of interesting. Let's go to the last person.
Am I on? I am Rani De Vera. I graduated with my MA in ministry with a focus in intercultural studies and specializing in Islam. And I'm now taking my doctoral in missiology.
Nice. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And one thing that all of you have in common is that you have lived with Muslims. And that's why I was asking John if he is a Filipino or an Indonesian. But you have reconfirmed that you are in Indonesian. So let's see if we can get you to prove that. What are some of the common features of Muslim culture that you can encounter in all countries that you go to? Let's start with John.
Okay, the common feature is, I think it's the shame and honor, for sure. It has been repeated before. And also another common feature is the way they showed how they call it, the gender diversity. Yes.
Can you expand on that?
So, like in the mosque, usually they divide between the man place of worship and the woman place of worship, and also in the way they socialize, usually there is a little bit barrier between the man and the woman. Usually the men are talking in the other place, and the women are talking in different places.
Okay.
So
Let's go to Pastor Rani, because I know he's been doing a lot of work with the Muslims. I know he's from the Philippines, but he has lived and worked primarily in a Muslim dominated places. What are some of the common things that you have seen there, that you have also read about in the books and you have seen in real life in your ministry?
I have most of my life worked and lived with Muslims. For the last, I got trained in 1997, way back in Canada. I did work in New York, just post World Trade center, the toppling down, and then I have until today. So you count out that it's about more than about 20 years. And you're asking what are the so common features that I've seen in a Muslim wherever I go? The very most common, hospitality. Wherever you go, in whatever country, when I meet Muslims, it's always a prominent feature.
Let's try Pakistan because we have already the perspective
Hello.
from Indonesia and Philippines. Let's try Pakistan.
I think I can copy paste a lot and plagiarize here. And well, in features, I think it's also what the practices they do, like azan, the prayer, the call to prayer or the worship. It's very common in most Muslim dominating countries. You would hear the azan every time, the 5 times a day. So I think that's one of the common thing I noticed.
Okay, let's go to the points of difference that we find. All of you, one thing in common that you have had is that you have lived with Muslims, same neighborhood, going to the same market. Maybe you went even to school together with some Muslims. What is the major difference? And I'm going to start with our two friends there. What are some of the differences, like major differences you have seen between Adventists and Muslims?
Probably before we continue, as you notice, we have 3 Indonesians here, but there are some distinction because Indonesia has 33 provinces, and John came from the province where predominantly Muslim, where I and Fran, we came from a few provinces in Indonesia where Christian is the majority. So we have a different view on how to we relate to our Muslims. So concerning the question, what are the major differences between Adventists and Muslims? Maybe in my experience, I can say for Muslims, the mosque, place of worship, is the center of their lives. Everything, their activities, it's not merely a place for them to pray, but also how they socialize each other. It's the place where they learn, they study together, and then they talk about politics and everything happens in their lives. For us Adventists, perhaps we come to church only once or twice a week. That's the difference that I notice.
Let me ask you a question. How does that relate to the philosophy of the center of influence
The center of influence
from the Adventists?
for the Adventists. Yeah, probably we're not really focused in one place. We like to disperse so that each Adventist, him or herself, is the center of influence. Instead of just gather in one place, we would like to, disperse and then give our influence to wherever we are.
Okay, let's go to you.
Well, like Edward has mentioned before, that we came from like the Jerusalem of Christianity in Indonesia, because we came from the east of Indonesia, which is the majority is Christian. So, but the major difference, I think, they have the strong sense of destiny. They believe that all people have their own time. Like there was happened in Jakarta when they were terrorists attacking the mall. They were shooting, and some people there were selling, because they think that if not my time, then nothing will happen.
Okay. Please try to explain to us that concept one more time. You mean there will be shooting going on, and people just go on with their business as if nothing is happening?
Yeah, it's like everything happened in my life is according to God's will. Like God is in control of everything. So if it's not my time to die, then I will not die.
Pastor, please help me with this one. Is this a translation of the verse that says, "Do not worry about tomorrow, because tomorrow will take care of itself"? Is this how they translate it?
We should understand the Muslims' mindset. I work basically in Mindanao. The bad part, which is actually not bad, is only a perception, as you were saying earlier. Now, he was saying that something explodes, like a gun explodes. In other areas, a gun explodes everybody runs away, fearing that they would get hit.
That's what I would do.
In
I have
Mindanao-
done that before.
In Mindanao, they hear a gunfire, they go out and said, what happened? And they look at the victim, and then they ask us a very simple question. That person who's dead, is he a Christian or a Muslim? If he's a Muslim, there will be war, retribution. There could be even a family feud, if you will, vendetta. But if it's a Christian, he's like a dog. So people go out and they want to know, they're curious, what is this man? Is he a Christian or a Muslim? If a Muslim, they make a huge fuss about it. All right? And interesting, the police doesn't do anything.
Oh, wow. Another difference you have seen, Akif, between the Adventists, I know you have very few of them in Pakistan. I don't know how many, hundreds or thousands. What difference have you seen?
First, I think we are known as Christians in Pakistan, so I speak only for that. And then, if you have interacted with somebody, then only they know that you are Adventists. So, basically or primarily, I know a few people who know Adventism in the Muslim world, in Pakistan, and it's very little. So if you tell I'm an Adventist, he would not know who you are. And if you say you're a Christian, you will find him on spot. So the difference there is what they generally think of the Christians all over the world. Like probably they eat and drink and so forth, and that divides a lot because according to them, it's illegal, it's forbidden. But since we have Christians in Pakistan who drink, well, we don't have pork, but we drink. So because of that, the difference is really explicit to them, and that makes things little difficult to interact because you're not related.
John, do you want to add something?
Well, yeah, I just want to continue about what he said before. The Muslim believe that everything that happened, it happened according to the will of Allah. It's very strong. So also the same with your income. Most of the Muslims are traders, so they believe that if you receive only like 500 pesos a day, that's the will of Allah. So, because Islam, the concept is to submit yourself to Allah. So, nothing happened to you that did not happen according to the will of Allah. So, it's almost like Calvinistic belief as well. So, yeah, it is.
Can I say
It looks
something?
like Pastor wants you to
Yes,
add
I'd
something.
just like to react to what he's saying about Christian and Adventism. Now, there is a basic thing that we should understand about Muslims. A Muslim's mind is black and white. All right? They hate Christians. And so if they ask you, are you a Christian? And you say yes, that's the last 5 minutes you'll ever have with a Muslim. Because his mind is going to close. I don't want to have anything to do with a Christian. But if you say you're an Adventist and they don't know what's an Adventist, it will lead, what is that? And your answer is simple. I believe in one God. I do not eat pork. I do not worship idols. What am I to you? And they say, you're a Muslim. So, today, in Mindanao, in this country, when you come to Mindanao, you do not introduce yourself as a Christian. You say, I am a Seventh-day Adventist, and you might get a hug.
Wow. It looks like you have addressed my next question. What are the common things that we find between Adventists and Muslims? But from what I have just listened, your last comment, is it possible that Adventists and Muslims have one more thing in common, and that is they don't want to listen to somebody else's ideology if that person is not Adventist?
Yeah.
Do we listen to non-Adventists, especially when it comes to matters of religion? Do we have any open mind? Do we have any place in our brain to say, oh, you're not Adventist. Oh, tell me about your religion. Do we have that open-mindedness? Or are we just like Muslims, just like in the other areas?
Two things. First, what's your motive? Because the second is, because motive can be your way of evangelizing. Number two, you want to engage so that you can have further conversations. Your first motive is, if your motive is because you want to reach out to the person, yes, you will show interest. But if your mindset is bigotry, you will not have anything to do with that person. And most likely, we do not necessarily want to listen to new theology, but rather we listen because we want to share what we know, what we have to say about Adventism to this person. So in the same way, with Muslims is a different thing. To them, they will always show the supremacy of Islam, because in the Muslims context, I have a better religion than you because my religion is from Adam, all right, which is, and then they say, I am more religious than you, so what am I going to learn from you? And so when we come before a Muslim, you do not share, you become an inquirer, so that he is able to teach you, and when you teach you, he will not even teach you anything, because he does not know even his Quran. So, when you come as an inquirer, he will be all willing to teach you, and when you sense that he is not able to lead you to anything, start asking the right questions that will lead to something that is truth.
You are again addressing the next question, but I'll bring you back a little bit. As you were explaining the mindset of a Muslim, I was trying to apply everything you were saying to the Adventist. And it's like we have the same mindset. Where we say our religion is superior. God has given us the truth, has revealed us truth that has not revealed to somebody else. A Jehovah's Witness wants to come to me. Trust me, I have faced that from my young age. I would just have this big wall. When I was, I'm not an Adventist, I'm a Catholic, I'm a Baptist, and so on. I know exactly how to attack you to show you that I'm superior. So, what makes me different from a Muslim mindset?
You have an interesting term, attacking.
Yeah.
Okay, you asked me, am I going to engage with the Jehovah's Witness or whatever? All right. I am not a born Adventist. I was just converted to this church. And I came here for the truth. And I'm looking for the truth. And so I would like to subject my faith to the acid test. How firm is my faith? Because if there's something that can teach me far more than I know, why would I not go there? But to date, for these many years, I have subjected my faith to other religions, and I have stood firm, because we know that we have the truth and the light. In the Muslim context, when it comes to religious matters, they will never listen. Let me give you a principle. The Muslims do not care what you know until they know that you care about them.
Anybody else wants to add something to this specific aspect? Yes.
Kind of summarizing what I was trying to, but let me just spell out, just as the Seventh-day perceive themselves that this movement, Seventh-day Adventist movement, is ordained by God to fulfill a mission in the world. And as a Seventh-day Adventist, we also believe that there's a judgment. Muslims also believe that one. So in that sense, yes, we share the common concepts in the Muslim world. But probably when you mention about how open we are to the opinions or concept from scholars or from other religion, I will say that there are differences between the scholars and the lay. Yeah, for the Muslim scholars and Adventist scholars, we are more open to the opinions and from other religions persuasion. But for the layperson, as already mentioned by Pastor Rani, they don't really care about that, because what they have in their mind, they were taught since their childhood that Islam is your religion, you are born as Islam, and that's the religion that will lead you to salvation. Other than that, there's no salvation.
What I'm hearing here, and I think this is a message for both the Muslims and the Adventists, is the word tolerance. I know when we look at the word tolerance from biblical perspective, it's like, oh, no, you don't tolerate, say either good or bad, it's black or white, and so on. But I'm speaking of tolerance from the positive perspective. I'm looking at Jesus being brought to this woman who was supposed to be stoned, but he didn't say, oh, yeah, go ahead and stone her. No, he did not. There was a level of tolerance that was involved to try to understand what was happening with them, to give them the benefit of the doubt, let them express themselves, even if in the end I do not have to agree with you, but I give you an opportunity to express yourself, your beliefs. Because once I listen to you, as you have just explained it, you will know that I care. And because you know I care, you'll be more willing now to listen. Okay, this is what you have told me about Islam. Now I'm going to tell you about Adventists. By the way, this is what we do in Adventists. And let's go to the next question. How have you used the common ground that you have between Muslims and Adventists? How have you used that to reach out to Muslims? Anyone?
Actually, this is the forte of Brother Ronnie. Yes, this is your specialty.
I don't want to dominate this whole thing. I can really say a lot, with
Please share.
experience. But, building a wonderful relationship really just breaks down barriers. It just breaks down barriers. They know I'm a Seventh Adventist. And there's nothing being cute, telling about it. In a very respectful way, you are not coming to a Muslim like an all-knowing Christian, or like my religion, my culture is superior than yours. I come in as a humble learner. I want to know more about you. I want to learn what you know. You see? And when you have this kind of attitude, it just opens the Muslim, and he's just all too thankful and grateful that you have come to his life. And then when he is open, when his defenses are down, you have the perfect opportunity to say what you need to say.
Can you share with us a specific experience you had where you used that strategy?
All right. The Muslims have, because of our relationship, they've given me a Muslim name. They call me Abdul Rashid, which is the servant of the righteous guide.
Wow.
All right? And can I relate something about what happened in this particular culture?
Yes,
You see?
without naming any name.
Yeah, without any names. This happened in Marawi. Everybody knows Marawi, right? Now, I was taking my ride, but it was taking so long, so I decided I'd visit this Muslim family that was kind of close to me. Now, this Muslim family has, the father is a sultan. You know what a sultan is. And he has two lovely daughters, two college lovely daughters. Now, it is prohibited, as he said earlier, you are not to touch a female's hand, much less touch it. All right? You're not supposed. But then, so I knocked on the door, and then I greeted, Assalamu alaikum, which is the regular greeting. And from the back door, I hear the voice of the daughter, Walaikum salam, opens the door. He said, oh, Rashid, you have come. And she pulls my hand. I know I was in great danger. But she was holding my hand and pulling me. All right? Now imagine the scene. I said, oh, well, she wants me to come in. Come in, Rashid, come in. And I thought she was going to sit me in the living room. But we passed the living room. We were going towards the dining place. I said, oh, maybe she'll take me there for a snack, But we passed that table, and we were heading towards the kitchen. We passed the kitchen, and we were heading towards a corridor, which I knew was leading to the rooms. All right? But remember, she was holding my hand. This is the relationship. We're just so close. And the parents do not even bother. Then she opens the door and swings the door. Rashid, come in. This is my room. All right? Interesting. And then I come in and said, Rashid, this is my bed. Come, sit in my bed. If you were in my position, what would you do?
Run away.
How can you? You were inside the house. You just might dishonor them. So I sat on that bed as she said. And then she said, Rashid.
Is this the mother of the
No, the
daughters
daughter.
or one of the
The
daughters?
single daughter.
Okay.
And then she tells me, Rashid, you wait here, and I will go out. And as she went out, I was trembling.
I would
And
do the same thing.
my heart was pounding hard.
And you were praying too.
And I told God, I said an
Take
SMS
it
text,
my soul.
Lord, you know I am a happily married man. Whatever's going to happen today, may it be your will. All right. So, moments later, I said, in my imagination, when she comes back, she'll bring her parents and all her relatives, and we're going to be married. I was in her bedroom. All right? Now, I was waiting. It seemed like forever. Finally, the door swung open. And indeed, here comes the father, the mother, the sisters. They said, this is it. But then, something strange happened. They sat on the floor, and I was on the bed. And I was standing because I wanted to sit with them, like, no, Rashid, you stay on the bed. So we were having this conversation. Moments later, the door swung open again, and came the helpers bringing in food. And then, they spread this huge cloth, and then they laid the food. And I said, thank God, this is about food. All right? I was thankful. So they were starting to get their plates. I stood up and I was wanting to get a plate. They said, no, Rashid, just sit on the bed. They took that plate, put food in it, and gave it to me, and we had a wonderful meal. I was on the table, they were on the floor. Moments later, I learned when they have a special guest in their household, they would entertain that guest no less than the most private place in their room, which is their bedroom.
Okay, now
I felt so honored that day. Now, thinking about relationship, you do not get that kind of treatment without a good relationship.
Okay, I think we need like 5 minutes break to digest this. Wow.
Wow. It is wow.
Gentlemen, do you have any other experience like this you have had in your ministry where you build such a strong relationship that somebody will do something similar or the same or something different, but that was like, I have never seen something like this in my life as a Christian or as an Adventist?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Recently, I'm doing a research on particular Muslim organization in Indonesia, and this is the largest Muslim organization. You can also say in the world because they have like 90 million members. Okay, so it's a big organization. At first, I do not know anyone there in the office, so I went there all by myself. I don't know what to do. I don't know who to visit. But then it's amazing. Throughout my research, everyone is helping me, and I've gained new friends in Islam in this Islamic organization. And I realized that it's easier for me to make new friends in the mosque rather than in Adventist church. It's far easier.
Did we get that?
It's yeah.
This is something we will not easily find in the news. And yet it is such a powerful lesson for all of us. What kind of Adventist am I? What kind of Christian am I? When even very simple services we cannot render them. And the people we want to take the gospel to, they are the ones actually teaching us. Because, if I came home, Pastor, and I found you sitting in my daughter's bed, trust me, that might be your last day to ever sit on anything. But they come and sit on the floor and serve you. You struggle to collect your data here, and I've had a lot of my students, who try to collect data here in the Cavite, in the Laguna. Yeah, it's predominantly Christian. They struggle. And then you go to a Muslim community, everybody wants to help you to get things done. let's hear somebody else. Akif, I think you wanted to share something where you have used what is common between Adventists and Muslims that made you get even closer to the Muslims.
Well, earlier I mentioned the difference of the being called Christian and Adventist. So it's less known in Pakistan. The identity is more on the Christian side rather than Adventist because there's less interaction. There are a few witnesses, some Muslims who have, like, I know some who are converted actually, but they live an undercover life kind of thing. And for this, what Rani is saying is totally true because the Muslim culture is all about trust. And I happened to go one of the weddings of a Muslim wedding, and it's also segregated, by the way. So women enjoy on the other side and men on the other side. And it was my dad's friend, and you never get to get invited on a Muslim's wedding unless there's a family term. There's this relation, there's this trust. And they do not invite you just because you're somebody. No, it's the trust, it's the friendship. Exactly what Rani said. I know of a family, my uncle's family, they have like the Pathan Muslim from the tribal side, and she and her family, her husband, children, they usually go with us to the church. Though they're not Adventists, so to say, but they're Protestants. But that's how it is. And the Pathan Muslim going to church, it's off the grid. It's out of question ever. And we sometimes, like, they always invite us, whatever, a little thing, a little celebration they're doing at their home, we go in and out, totally to the bedroom thing. I understand that point exactly. And it's common. You sit with them wherever they sit. It's a family. You want to touch something, go ahead. You want to turn on the TV, go ahead. No question, you're just the family. And something more, just short. I was with a young guy, and I was learning driving from him on his car. And he came to visit me on Friday, but I was in the church and nobody was at home. And he found one of my friends, and he knew that this guy teaches me driving. So I was supposed to be preaching in the Vespers, and it's the seminary Vespers in the campus, the church in the campus. And he's a Muslim. So what he does, my friend tells him that, oh, he's in the church. So you want to come? So he just said, yeah, let me just park and I'll just go. So imagine a Muslim just coming without nobody knowing it, only one of my person, and so he goes there into the church, and it's Vespers. And later on, after like 3 weeks, he comes and tells me that whatever you said, I did not understand because it was English. And in our church, we have translation. But I felt really relaxed. I felt home. And I was like, why are you telling me this after 3 weeks? I mean, why not the other day? We just met after the worship. So he was just telling me. So I found that really fascinating how they feel when they're around us. And I think reaching Muslim world is just friendship. It's trust-driven, it's friendship-driven. There's no other way you can. There are a lot of strategies we've learned, but this is the most trustworthy strategy, I would say.
And I would think that, before we go to the next question, I would think that that's how Jesus did his ministry. I don't think Jesus was somebody that you were scared of approaching. You know, when you read all the 4 Gospels, you find him drawing crowds. You not draw crowds if people are scared of you. He must have been making a lot of friends wherever he went. Let's go to the next question, and this one goes to my 2 pastors there, and then we'll go to John after that. What challenges do Adventists usually face in a common, typical Muslim context? Adventists specifically, not Christians in general, Adventists.
For me, I think there are internal and external factors. Internal factors, probably how Seventh-day Adventists see that mission to Islam is very hard, almost impossible. That's the internal, I would say, internal factors. And probably the external factors is
So the first challenge is actually us.
Yeah, us. It's us as Seventh-day Adventists. And then the external.
It's like a prejudice, it's a misconception.
Yes.
And trust me, I have the same misconception because I've heard it a thousand times that it is very, very hard. And when we find people like him, it's like that's a legend. So that's actually not necessarily true.
Yes, yes.
That's the internal problem. What is the external
The
problem?
external problem is the Islamic theology itself, because for them, Christianity is one group. They don't know of course they are aware they are Protestants and Roman Catholic, but for them Christianity is all the same. So they don't know the distinction between Seventh-day Adventists and the other Protestants. They just have no idea about that. And probably what is so current today is the negative portrayal by the West media towards the Muslim, and they react in a negative way towards the non-Muslim. That's how. Let me tell you that whatever decision they made in the U.S., for example, the President Trump decision to move the embassy from from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, it was enraged the Muslim in Indonesia. So there's some kind of external
Even in
challenges.
Indonesia.
Yes, because of the concept of Ummah
Yes.
mentioned by
Yes.
Professor
Yes.
Subkov.
Yes.
They are all brothers. So whatever you do in Muslim in the other parts of the world, you also hurt me here. Yeah,
Thank
that's-
you. Let's go to him. Another challenge that Adventists face we'll go to you and then we'll go back to Pastor Rani.
Well, here I realized that it's not that easy to understand Muslim. You know, when I was in college, as we all know, that pastors are required to do at least 2 months, literature evangelism. So when I was doing this literature evangelism, you know, I enter many houses of Muslim, and you know, I realized that there are 2 kinds of Muslim, which is very friendly and not so friendly. You know, at some houses, I was allowed to pray for them. Even though after I prayed, and they act like, you know, the way they pray, right? And then in some houses, I was not even allowed to pray. And then when on my way to go out, it seems to me that they cleaned the chair where I was seated before. Yeah. So I think it's also challenges for us Adventists to approach.
But is this because our worldview maybe is different from their worldview? That we want to go into their context, but we want to come with our worldview without opening ourselves to understand their worldview. Maybe I've not done any evangelism with Muslims. That's just something that is going on in my mind. Let's go to Pastor Rani.
I'll give you a short answer. What challenges do Adventists face in a typical Muslim context? The short answer is, how do you share the gospel to a Muslim? I'll share you my experience. We were studying with a Muslim family. When we came that night, there were 2 imams, the brother of the imam, and a mujahideen. For those people who know what's a mujahideen, this is the servant of the imam who follows him and obeys him blindly. And it's like, oh, you're here, imam. Do you want to say something? You want to speak something? And they said to me, no, we came to listen to you. Wow. All right? So, we spread a prayer, and I took my Bible, opened my Bible, you know, and all that while, the mujahideen was looking at me. We were on the table, right? He was looking at me with stern-looking eyes. He was looking at this imam, look at me again, look at the imam, look at me again, as if waiting for the orders of the imam. I was nervous, of course, but I was relying on higher power. What I did, I simply I read from the Quran about the name of Abraham, Ismail, this is the Arabic term, and Ishaq, Isaac. And I simply related the story of Abraham, Sarai, Hagar, Ismail, and Isaac. You know, and all the while this mujahideen was looking at, back and forth, the imam and me, so on and so forth, waiting for the order. And then the two imams and the brother were just quiet and trying to observe me. After the presentation, about an hour's presentation on scriptures, I got news. They said, "Can you please write what you spoke to us tonight? Can you please write it in a book, and we will have it published, and we will spread this book to all the mosques in New York City." And they said, "If only all Christians speak the way you speak, we will have no problem." Our problem here today, we have so much theology. We want to share so much about theology. We are an academic community here. We want to share so much, but Muslims do not care. That's why we're saying it's easy, because you only tell them stories. And the stories just get them.
Question, have you written that book?
What?
Have you already written that book they requested from you?
Unfortunately, I did not have the time because I ran around every single
Oh,
time.
boy.
Too bad.
Oh, boy.
But
Okay, that is
it's-
definitely something we will join our Muslim brothers and say, please write that book.
that is why I need this degree.
Thank you so much for sharing. I think you wanted to share something. Challenges that are common, typical in a typical Muslim context.
The thing is that in Indonesia, it's one of the largest Muslim country in the world, just like what they've been saying before. And yeah, freedom of religious are there. You are allowed to worship everywhere. But then some element of the people will do everything to make sure that Christianization will not occur. They will do everything. So if a church achieve considerable success in reaching Muslims, consequences follows everywhere. So this is the reason why in Indonesia we have no assessment of Muslim evangelism of Adventists. We have no assessment at all, because if we know how many Muslims we win every year, it will backfire. For example, I will share to you one of the incidents in a specific province in Indonesia. There was a church. It has been there, I think, for 20 years. And every year it can only win 5 souls a year. 5 souls, 6 souls a year. And then there is one time when a new pastor was moved into that area. And only in 2 years, I think only in 1 or 2 years, he was able to convert 600 people. Okay, 600. Just only in the 2 years' time. What happened next is that the Muslims from other province came and demanded him to write an agreement that all of the converted Muslims will be returned to their original religion. Yes. This is not the Muslims from the local area. No, they bring Muslims from the surrounding cities. So that's the challenge. I mean, yeah, I know. In our class, I think we are about to learn about the insider movement, about the C1 to C5 spectrum, C6. In Indonesia, they have developed an organization that can detect these insiders people. So it's difficult. It's really difficult because the Muslim doesn't like when a person converted to Christianity, even though it transformed their life. So usually what we do is that expulsion. We extract a Muslim from their place. We transfer them to different province. That's what usually happen. Okay.
Thank you so much. You have shared so much for me to chew on. It's quite complex. I'm going to give you 30 seconds each for the last question. Some of the answers have been shared already, but I think we're trying to kind of sum it up. What are the best strategies to reach out to Muslims? And I'm going to start with Akif, who has lived most of his life with Muslims, and then we're going to go that way. 30 seconds each. Please share with us, if you want to really reach out to the Muslims, what are some of the most practical, live theology far away, practical things to do?
I think I would go with what I said, not to overlap it, that it's the friendship, it's the trust. If it is not there, there's a saying in Pakistan for Adventists that Adventists do not let their guests sleep on their bed because the bed sheet gets dirty. You get me? The implication is that they mean literally that they really don't let you go into their homes, or they're not you're not welcomed. But metaphorically, it means that you are not welcomed. So, in Adventist context now, not just Christian, it's that we lack the friendship. And only I know there are people who doing it. It's only individualistic work. Some who have the heart to reach interculturally, they do it. So friendship.
Thank you so much. Next person.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly with what he says. That's the essence. But when we speak about models, like way to reach Muslims, contextualization and stuff like that, for me, there are no such thing as best strategies. All strategies will work eventually in different places. Either it's by debate or by speaking from, how do you call it? You speak directly to them. Sometimes it works, sometimes it didn't. But basically, based on a survey that was done before, one of the most effective way is simply through dreams and visions. So it worked efficiently. This is the most convincing way of Muslim conversion. But then, to do that, it requires some divine intervention.
Amen, 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 amen. Let's go to the next one.
I think first of all, we need to clean our minds from misconception of Muslim. And then the most important thing for me is being good friend with them, because, yeah, of course, this being good friend doesn't mean that we are really close with those women, but we have to be a good listener for them, because they are, for me, I realize that they are more likely to listen, to tell than to listen. So for me, being a good listener.
Thank you so much. Next person.
Thank you. In terms of strategies, we have tried different strategies, and I can say like health cooking class where we can invite them, because they also have strong emphasis on lifestyle, diet, and also health seminars or trainings on entrepreneurship, something like that. But the most important is we need to put away the prejudice, try to make friends, and this mentality of seeing someone as a target. Nobody wants to be regarded as a target. So if you want to make friend with them, treat them as your real friend. I think that's the best way to approach our Muslim brothers.
Thank you so much. And we say the last word, Pastor Rani.
They've said the elementary part, the friendship part, and the cooking class is all. But what's step 2? What do you do? In my context, I read my Quran, not because I believe in it, but because I'm looking for bridges that I can bridge the truth to my scriptures. You see, if you come to a Muslim and you bring a Bible, no way are you going to be accepted. All right? Now, even if I have a Quran, I don't go to the Muslim, hey, I have a Quran. Look, I found it here. Will you please explain this to me? No. That's not the way. Rather, I know my Quran, I've read my Quran, and I know exactly the bridges I'm going to build. I go to the Muslim, please teach me your Quran. He starts to talk, but he won't go very far because he doesn't know either. Then I say, you know what? I have a Muslim friend who gave me a Quran, and I was reading it, and I was looking at this verse. Can you please, I want to know. I want to understand. And you're actually leading him to a study. And then when he says something significant, you say, you know what? That's exactly what my scripture is saying. You see? And without opening the scripture, you're actually giving him the words of God. So basically, you're sharing the truth, but in his context and not your context.
Yes. Thank you so much for all the wealth of knowledge you have shared with us. You really know from experience how to relate to the Muslims. And we want to thank the audience for being with us today, and those who are watching. Thank you so much for spending time and listening to our talk here on United in Diversity. If you have questions and comments and suggestions, please write to us at united@ias.edu. Again, the email address is united@ias.edu. Until we meet again next time, we want to encourage you to remain united in diversity. God bless you.